The Pac-12 continues to bring very competitive matchups each and every week as the toughest conference in all of college football, and this week will be no different as the 3-3 Arizona Wildcats head north to Pullman to take on the 4-1 Washington State Cougars. Wildcats nearly pulled off the upset last week of USC, while the Cougars suffered their first loss on the road to UCLA. So who has the edge in this matchup of Conference of Champions? I'll have that as well as my prediction for the game coming up in just a moment. But first, as always, if you're enjoying this content, do us a favor and hit that like button. And if you'd like to be alerted of any of our betting content, go ahead and subscribe to our channel as we release betting picks and predictions for every sport you can think of every single day. Now, looking at the Wager Talk Live odds screen, we see that Washington State is an 8.5-point favorite at home, and the total sitting at 60.5 or 61. Now, this game hasn't drawn much action to speak of earlier in the week, so it's something to monitor. Both of these teams are top 30 in the country in total offense. They both can throw the ball very well, but there's a decided advantage with Washington State. Now, some of that is that Wildcats quarterback Jaden DeLaura has missed the last two games with injury, and there's no definitive word on if he'll play this week. Backup Noah Fafita, a redshirt freshman, has started the last two games and played pretty well, actually, completing 70% of his passes with 8 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. Now, I'd expect him to be able to play at that level against the Cougars defense that's allowing 400 yards of offense to opponents this season. Washington State quarterback Cam Ward continues to shine, but at his worst game of the year last week against UCLA, he threw for just 197 yards on 48% completions and a touchdown. He also threw his first 2 interceptions of the season against the Bruins. If Ward sharpens back up, he could be a problem for the Wildcats defense. Now, despite the play of Fafita, Arizona should try and run the ball against the Cougars with Jonah Coleman. The sophomore had a breakout game last week against USC with 143 yards on the ground, and he's averaging 6.2 yards per carry on the season, although he's yet to find the end zone. Cougars' run defense allows 141 yards per game. That's 73rd in the country. If Arizona can't keep up in the passing game, they can control the game by keeping the ball on the ground. Now, UCLA gave the blueprint last week as they rushed for 180 yards and held onto the ball for over 38 minutes. Washington State also had 4 turnovers, but you can't account for those in every single game. When you're playing Washington State, it's about styles making fights. If the Cougars set the pace and force their opponents to play catch-up, they're very tough to beat, as we saw against Oregon State. If you slow the game down, you can stop them, and the Cougars will be at a disadvantage. Last week, Washington State punted 9 times. For reference, prior to last week, they had punted 10 times the entire rest of the season. This also feels like it's one of those games where it shows you who they really are type game. If the Cougars win a low-scoring tight one or drop the game altogether, we kind of know their hot start was a little bit of a farce. And for Arizona, it's a huge road win during a rebuild that may get them into a bowl game when it's all said and done. This game feels correlated with the total. It's Arizona in the under or Washington State in the over. The Wildcats defense is top 50 and kept Washington in check and almost knocked off USC. They're also 5-1 against the number this season. Too many points for me to lay here with the Cougs. I'll take the Wildcats plus the points. If you're interested in more trends, game breakdowns, and picks, go ahead and check out this next game video.